Okay, now, before you get to question 3, it tells you to hit end. That's going to take you back to the settings screen. And we're not going to change the wave speed. We just calculated the wave speed, so we don't want to mess with that. However, we are going to change the frequency. So when you click on change frequency, you're actually asked to click this little button in the middle 3 times, and you've got to do it at a pretty constant basis. So you need to click it 3 times quick, 3 times slow, but make sure that the time in between clicks is essentially constant. Otherwise, the simulation is going to ask you to do it again. So I can click it 1, 2, 3 times, and it looks like my new frequency is established. Now it's going to start creating waves using my new frequency. And you're going to do that, let it go for 10,000 milliseconds. So again, yours is going to be different than mine, but I would just let mine go, let mine go, let mine go, until I want this counter to get up to 10,000 milliseconds. And then I'll pause it. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, close enough, okay? Close enough. What you do then is you start from your outermost circle and start counting in the number of waves. Okay, and again, this is all in the instructions. You also need to figure out the frequency of your wave. I'm sorry, you can figure out the frequency of the wave by knowing that it has a certain number of cycles has been created in this amount of time. Remember, frequency is cycles per second, so you should be able to find out the frequency, calculate the frequency of your wave. You should also be able to determine the wavelength of your wave by just measuring the distance between wave crests. And again, use these blocks. So in between each of the dark gray lines is 100 meters. So therefore, each of the individual little boxes, there's 10 of them. So each of those is 10 meters. And you don't have to, you're not limited to counting in full little blocks. You can actually use fractions of little blocks. Again, the more accurate you can be with your wavelength, the better your calculations are going to be. But once you've done that, you're going to actually create a table. Because you're going to keep your wave speed the same, but you're going to be changing the frequency. So once you've done it this time, now go back in, hit end again, and change your frequency. Don't change the speed though, just change the frequency. Click it 3 times with a different pacing. And you're going to do the same thing. Let it go for 10,000 milliseconds, figure out the frequency, figure out the wavelength, collect your data, and then you're going to graph it. So you're going to go into a graphing program, and you're going to graph your wavelength on the y-axis and your frequency on the x-axis. You're going to put your frequency values on the x-axis. You're going to put your wavelength on your y-axis. And then the question is, what kind of fit does your graph look like? So you'll graph it, you'll fit it, and you'll see which one is most appropriate for your data.